Hey everybody, Jay Shalansky here from the Fifth Trooper Network. I just want to take a moment to thank you for checking out this show. Did you know that over at thefifthtrooper.com we have tons of other content, including blogs, other podcasts, all kinds of stuff. In addition, if you want access to exclusive content, you can join us on patreon.com/thefifthtrooper and join at any level and you'll get access to exclusive blog articles, access to our private Discord, and much more. So please check us out, and thank you so much for all your support.
Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky, and joining me, as always, is Tim, the Tool Man, Hannon. Remember that show?
I love that show. Yes, I grew up watching that.
Well, I don't know. Not everybody has the same.
It's one of the few Tims we have to look up to, as far as even fictional Tim, at least. But
yeah. For those of you at home, I'm referencing Home Improvement. You can watch it on Disney Plus. Anyways, I saw a thing for it, and I was like, man, there's just like that. When we were kids, I can name like a handful of shows that were like the family shows, and Home Improvement was one, Roseanne was the other, The Simpsons back then was a big one, and then my parents were kind of nerdy a little bit, so Star Trek Next Generation was our other one.
I wish
we used to all watch together. Yeah, so
mine was Home Improvement. I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons nor Roseanne, so that's the kind of household I grew up in.
Tracks,
yeah. So it was mainly Home Improvement and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So there you go.
Yeah,
and now I love trivia. So there you go.
And then Married with Children, that was a good one too. Yeah, my parents had they were very strict, but they had a very liberal policy when it came to television and movies, where it was so for instance, like we would watch a rated R movie and swears wasn't a problem, but like if nudity was coming on, they'd be like, okay, everybody close your eyes, and then you'd but you could still hear it, and you'd peek, through your fingers and to see, stuff.
Listen, I remember Titanic. Oh no.
Yeah.
This is horrible.
Oh, can I tell you a really funny story with that? So when I went to the theaters with that, and my grandparents took me with my cousin, who's a girl. And we didn't want to sit with our grandparents. We were too cool for school. So we sat in the row in front of them, right? But they sat right behind us. And when that came on, my grandma, oh my God, tried to grab my face, but I kept ducking her in the
I have to see this. I have to.
Jay, don't watch this.
This is culture.
This isn't for you. Oh my God, it's so funny. So anyways,
for you.
I
love it.
But yeah, so we're here. This is the last. You'll be listening to this on the last day of November, and we have PAX coming up this weekend, which we're gonna talk a little bit about today. And then next weekend is Everwinter out in Boston. I think they're still taking signups for that. So if you're looking for an event to go to, Everwinter's a really good one. And so we're here. We made it.
I would be at both of those if I could. So I was foolish. I made other plans. So there you go. This
is so I made PAX last year, but this time of year is a real stretch for me to make anything, and I paid significantly, not just monetarily wise, but in other ways, to go to PAX last year, and I didn't feel like paying that same price again this year, so I chose not to go.
But the troll toe.
Yeah, dude. It's gonna cost me. And so I'm kind of just, I'm trying to limit my exposure on said events. And so I think the next one I'm probably gonna be at is Adepticon. I was gonna go to Everwinter, but just it's not in the cards for me. So
like I said, I joke around, but I really did. Many months ago, I mean, heck, almost last year at this point, or almost a year. Yeah, almost last year, I booked this trip to Disney. And I remember looking at the dates and I was like, I think I'm in the clear. I think I'm good. I don't have anything else planned this whole first week of December.
Yep.
great, we're gonna go spend 10 days in Disney. And then I was talking with Nick Bodner, and he was like, "Oh, and PAX is coming up." I was like, "Oh, when is that?" And he said the dates. Like, "Oh, that's what it was." And I felt so bad because PAX is a great time. I love Gen Con. Gen Con's my favorite, just con in general, not my favorite Legion event,
Yep.
but favorite con as a whole. And it's very much like a mini Gen Con, and
Yeah,
I really
it
do
is.
enjoy it.
It
It's
is.
great.
And it's in a great spot. And it's like right across from the Philadelphia market, which that place is super dope. They
Yeah,
got a ton of great food options in there. Like that's what I
yeah,
always tell everybody. I'm like, don't buy anything from the convention because it's
no,
crap and it's expensive. Just do
yeah,
yourself a favor, take the 10 minutes, walk across the street, get you there's a beautiful deli there. There's all kinds of like international foods. Like it's
yeah,
a really, really nice place. Um
yeah. Well,
so
and then
and
even for just dinner in general, you're in basically the heart of Philly.
yes,
And so you can just go wherever you want,
yeah.
go to a steakhouse or something like that. Like, yeah,
I'm kind of yeah, I don't know. Those conventions like that I'm kind of getting burnt out of. Like they're just like overwhelming to me where
okay,
there's like too much going on and I never feel
okay,
like I do anything at them.
okay.
Does that make
I,
sense?
it makes total sense. I am 100% the opposite, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I absolutely hear what you're saying, and I think that's totally valid.
Yeah,
I'm just the opposite side of that coin. So for me,
which is great.
I I feel like if I could just like take all the energy and put it as like a suction cup in my head and just like wire it into my brain,
Yeah.
it juices me up, man. Like I love it. I'm born for that because I'm the person that'll like find a random group of people that look mildly interesting and like maybe we could maybe be friends. Like that's enough. I can take that and I'll be your friend. That's okay. Either I'll
Yeah.
be kicked out of a friend group by the end of the day, or I'll have a new friend group.
Yeah,
One of the
right.
two.
There you go.
So yeah,
Yeah, well, and I don't know, they did like so like Adepticon is more my speed because it's just like way
sure.
more focused
Yes.
on
Yeah.
miniature games. And so like I'm just like, okay, like I just feel more purpose driven at that
That's
where
fair.
like a Gen Con or
Yeah.
at PAX, I'm just more like and even like the people I go with, right, are just very much like, oh, did you see this? And then this came out, and then this, and then I'm just like, dude,
Yeah.
I can't with this, right? Where
Yeah.
like you go to an Adepticon, like I can literally just go focus on MCP, Legion,
Yeah.
Onslaught last year,
Yeah.
and so like it's just I don't know. And it's just like I also like Adepticon, like the hotel is right connected to it. So like you're not
That's fair.
you don't ever have to leave. Like we go out to dinner and stuff, but like you don't
Sure.
really have to leave the complex. Like it's all kind of just like right there. And
Yeah.
I mean there's
See,
even a
that's like,
really good restaurant right at the hotel. So you're just like,
yeah. Well, again, that's why I like Gen Con a lot because Gen Con is you really take over like the whole city, but you
Yeah,
especially, you can get to Lucas Oil Field all the way from like your hotel without
yeah,
ever having to go outside if you wanted to.
right. Yes.
Normally it's nice weather, but like if you wanted to, if you want to stay in the whole time, you can stay in, which Indy is not a perfect city, but it is a really neatly designed city. Like it's
Yeah.
really cool that you can just do all of this and never hit the outside. It's such a cool concept.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting. But yeah, I mean the other problem I have, okay, controversial time,
here we
especially
go.
for this podcast.
Oh,
I think some of this might come with Legion
okay.
because Legion takes so freaking long to play.
Yeah.
I feel like I love Legion. I do. I wouldn't have this podcast and we wouldn't have this network if I didn't love this game so much. I just it just sometimes feels like at these conventions it eats up so much of my time that I didn't even actually it's like I
Yeah.
didn't even actually go there. It's like I went
Yeah.
and listen, and we travel a lot where we did, and
Yeah.
a lot of the people you see at these events, once you get in the circuit and you're playing a lot, like you see them everywhere. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
and we live in a very, now Tim's up here, we live in a very heavy, area for play. Like
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so I just feel like sometimes, especially PAX, with this, because we were at the Keystone, which is, it just feels like the same people. And so sometimes I feel like I paid all this money and I spent all this time and I spent all my husband
Yeah.
points to just go play with the same people I'm always playing with, and it just doesn't feel unique.
That was the joke we had in Knoxville because we would, especially Ryan and I were the two big travelers, sometimes Ben, but then also Brett would
Yeah.
tag along and things like that. And we would inevitably we would drive maybe hours to go somewhere because we had a certain travel radius that we could carpool and go somewhere together with, and we would go somewhere, drive 4 hours whatever to something, and then we end up playing each other round one. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
come on, like, all right, or if you both play someone else round one and then you both win, then that round two you're probably going to face
Yeah.
each other or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's like Evan and I when we travel, especially up, in the tri-state area around here. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're gonna face each other. Like we might as well just be comfortable with that because that's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love Legion. I do. I just
It takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes
sometimes it takes a lot out of me at the
well,
to do it
that's
at
fair.
these events.
It does. It's especially if you hit a 4 round event, which I think PAX will be. I think
Yeah.
PAX is doing 4 rounds, which I actually prefer. That's a whole nother side topic that we get into, but I really
Mhm.
I like 4 round events. Like 4 rounds in a day to me makes it feel like it was worth it for me to travel. I can do 3 rounds at a local store tournament. If I do 4 rounds, it feels like I'm at a big event.
PAX is 6.
No,
It's
no, I
gonna
mean in
be
a day.
yeah, it's gonna be 4 on Saturday and then 2 on
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
having at least one day of 4.
for okay, so I was talking to a buddy of mine, Nick. He came over the other night to play. We play MCP. He's my like MCP pal.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adore MCP. Not enough to start a podcast about it, but like I love it. It's my freedom game. So it's
Yeah.
like,
That's fair.
I like no matter what happens in MCP, like I really haven't been paying attention, and I just slapped
Yeah.
down some characters last night and we played and it was great and I had a great time.
Yeah.
Um and we were talking about this new Premier League that they got going that's going to be
I
at
saw
any
that.
AMG run events. And
Yeah.
basically what they've done is uh I don't know where I was going with this, but anyways, they
4 round event or for
oh
4 round
yeah,
days and
okay.
things. Yeah.
So they cut out a lot of the cosmic monsters, like so it's like a lot of the ground level heroes and
Yeah.
robots and stuff, like
Yeah. Yeah.
earth based. And what they're doing is you have to bring 3 completely separate 10-man rosters. So you have to have 30 models. And what happens is
Oof.
I think it's the first day you choose, it's the round and the list. So you say, this is list number 1, this is list number 2, this is list number 3. So round 1, you play
Sure.
1, round 2, you play 2, round 3, you play 3. And then on the finals, they flip it, where on round 1, you play 3, 2 stays, 1. But
Yeah.
or something like that, right? And I was just like, and so where I was going with this is the conversation was that adds this whole new level of competition and thought about list building, because the
Mm.
question becomes, we were talking like, because MCP 4 rounds is different than Legion 4 rounds, but the question
Yes.
then becomes, if I have a list that has a lot of triggers and I really have to be focused and like mentally there, it most likely will be my better list. But like Nick and I were going back and forth, I was like, well, that would be my first round list,
Yeah.
because
Ooh, I see
that's
what you're
when
saying.
I'm the sharpest and I'm like,
Sure.
and I'll do all the triggers. And then my third round list would be my autopilot list, like
Sure.
Avengers, not the new Captain Avengers, but the original Captain Avengers is very much like not a lot of triggers, not a lot of stuff
Sure.
going on. They're just
Yeah.
hard to get off the table and they're brutal and they just, you
Yeah.
don't really have to think a lot.
Yeah.
And so this 4 round thing with like Legion, I've never liked 4 rounds. I hate them so much. And it like, because by round 3, I think it's a combination of a number of things. It's Legion in general. Everybody feels this. I think the fact that we're content creators and especially most of these events, people know us and want to talk to us. So like I'm also mentally like tied to that and like trying to
Yeah,
have conversations with people and trying to remember them and trying to
yeah.
like, like I
You're
listen,
trying to
it's not
engage.
an inconvenience to me. I'm not saying this in that way. Like
No, we
for
love it.
you,
We
for
love it.
you
Yeah, yeah,
listening, I don't mind you talking to me. So please, it's not an inconvenience, but I want to give you my time and I want my attention and
right,
I want you to feel like I'm listening because I am.
right.
But that takes a toll.
Yeah,
And then I'm also playing, which also takes a toll. And then there's this added pressure. Not only am I competitive generally, and I don't mean the way I play Legion, but just mentally, I'm a competitive person.
I get that.
Um,
Same.
I want to win, but then there's another level of competitive on top of it because I am on, because we are on the podcast. Like I feel like I have to show up and do something and like, and
Yeah,
people are out gunning for you. Like that's a particular thing. And
yeah,
so there's just like all these mental stressors that I found for me personally with my personal reality as it
yeah.
is. 3 rounds is like my perfect jam because
That's
I could be attentive, focused, and like by the end of round 3, I'm tired. But
no, man. That's, and I agree with you. I agree with you on all the
yeah,
things you said. But that's why I like round four because I want to be exhausted. I want to be squeezed like a dead lemon.
you
Like
and I
just
live very different lives.
I live for the stress of it. It keeps me going. I'll get so pissed when I lose and I'll get upset. And then 5 minutes later, I'll be like, damn, that was a good game.
Yeah,
And
you know,
then I'm exhausted and I
well,
love it.
that's the other thing too. So speaking of MCP Legion comparisons, this just popped up because you said pissed about losing, but like Nick and I were talking about MCP last night, my buddy Nick, and I there was this one roll where I think I rolled like 12 hits and he did a bunch of stuff and he got 12 blocks, right? Or like, yeah, it was wild. It was
Damn,
wild. And
that
then
is
I like
wild.
went to hit again and then he blocked all my next hits. And then I hit again with a different character, blocked all those. And I was just like, so we talked about it because I was angry in the moment
Yeah.
because it was unbelievable and I was so upset and and I did that. We've all been there where I just go, well, I don't know, I guess nothing's gonna friggin' work then. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
why am I even playing this dumb game right now?
Oh,
Like you know
yeah.
what I mean.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
did I even have you over today? Like, and
Right.
but then with MCP, because it's so beautifully structured with the flipping of the cards and the
Mm.
characters sometimes become more powerful when they're like wounded
Yeah.
and the way it's all set up, it's like it's
It,
such a
it
beautifully
feels
designed game.
because I have the core set for MCP. I
Yeah,
don't get I say I don't get a chance. I don't make the time to play it. So I have chances. I just don't make the time for it. Uh, it feels a little bit more forgiving, and
yes,
like a little bit more not okay. Forgiving is probably the wrong term. Maybe elastic almost.
yes,
It's okay. I'm
elastic
going
is the
to
term. Yep,
elastic one, like I'm going to stretch this way and I'm going to
yep,
bounce back the other way, most likely, or something like that. Whereas Allegiant, especially if you have expensive characters or expensive units, which I mean, I like to play Republic and
yep,
Imperials mostly, so those are normally expensive units, especially on the Republic side. Like you lose somebody, they're gone, and
yeah.
you're just like, uh
Well,
oh, uh
yeah,
oh,
yeah, and I'll give you like an example of like just the structure in which the game is designed is like, so for instance, I had we were playing a 20 point game and I had a 5-man roster and I had old Iron Man, old Cap, I had Hulk, Beta Ray Bill, and Beast. And so out of that, if I was going to equate that to a Legion list, right? Hulk
sure,
is like an ATST
okay,
or like a big armor piece where it costs it has a significant cost, it can
mm,
tank a ton of hits and people are scared of it and like it's your centerpiece, right? Like and
yeah,
it's going to go do the work and be the distraction that you need it to
sure,
be,
it's your
okay?
workhorse, yeah,
Yeah, by turn 3ish, the beginning of turn 3, Hulk died,
Mm.
and it hurt, but it was, I was still well within the game. Like I was still in that game. Like it was a
Right.
close game. I had a plan. Like I could move the thing. He had a couple objectives. He had the cubes, and so I moved him back. So I had a card that lets it put it on another character, and then when he dropped the other one, it was in my zone, so my opponent couldn't just go pick it up and score.
Right.
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 So
Right.
I planned it. I played it right, and I positioned
Yeah.
it right. But I was just thinking about this just now. I'm like, if that were Legion and I had an ATST on the center KP round 3 and it
Right.
went down in the beginning of round 3,
Yeah.
I'm now playing uphill battle the rest of that game, and probably
Yeah.
not winning because you just took out one of my key pieces, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it tilts the key pieces in Legion. When you lose them, it tilts, unless you do it on purpose. Like I've done it on
Right.
purpose as a distraction.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you don't do it on purpose and because of dice rolls, it just ends up going.
Mhm.
It literally, at most of the time, let's say 70% of the time, it'll tank the rest of, you're done. You're done. No
Mm.
matter what you
Yeah.
can do, you're out now. Like
I think
you could
that's fair.
try and hope
Yeah.
that the dice, turn in you. How many times have you lost a key piece and gone, if this stormtrooper doesn't get 4 hits over this cover, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then they can't block them all, right? And I have to get not only the 4 hits over cover, I need them to roll blanks. Like and it just, you're
Yeah.
like, and you're banking on that in your head. You're like, if this doesn't happen, this is game.
Right.
And
Right.
it's a ridiculous, because mathematically it's like a near impossibility that that's going to happen, but because of the dice
Yeah.
though and the variance, it could.
It could, and it's hard because those are the things that when it happens in the moment, I'm thinking of Legion,
Yeah.
when that happens in the moment and it doesn't go your way, which sometimes statistically it's not supposed to go your way.
Yeah, you're right.
But you feel like, if you're like me, I don't do the calculations in my head. There's many times I've told someone like, wow, I wish I knew the math of this. Because I'll ask a question like, should I do this? Should I do this?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I know there is a right answer statistically. I don't know what that answer is.
Right.
But anyway, so you make that gamble. And when it doesn't pay off, it's really easy to say, okay, well that gamble cost me everything. And in reality, and this is getting more into like scoundrels territory, but like, it's really the steps you took to get to that position that got you in that. You've put yourself in a position where you're depending on a few die rolls to save everything, which is really not a great spot to be in the first place.
Sometimes, but I think there's definitely times where you can look at it, or let's say I'll internalize it so that I'm not putting it on other people.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I can look at something. And I mean, listen, I'm not as good as Kyle or Mike, but I understand the concepts in which they,
you are a good player. Like you were still a good player. Yeah.
And so I go, okay, if I put my ATST in this position, they don't have any impact. They got some critical. They don't really have Pierce. Like I can expect probably 4 hits to come through this turn, and the next turn it'll be 4, but I'll have this. And so like I'm doing those calculations, and adjustments. And then it turns out, no, they've got 10 hits and you're going, whoa. And then you roll
10, all crits.
And then you roll all blanks and the ATST surges on defense. And so you're like, you're all blank, you roll no paint, they rolled all crits, and you're just going, and then your ATST's down, and by no miscalculation, but it just happened, right?
You statistically did the right thing and still, you went on the wrong side of the curve, basically.
Okay, because we're in a dice game. Okay, so I'm understanding this, yeah. I think the problem with Legion is there isn't as much catch up or tactics built into the game to help with dice variance, where other games have a lot of dice modification systems where we understand this is a variance game. There's going to be some like ebbs and flows, but you're going to have some peaks and valleys. But here's some modification tech you can build in so that you can try to, you know, clean that up. Where Legion does not. I mean, sure, dodges and tokens and aims, right? But like,
Well, I was going to say, I think you're right. You're right. Because it costs more if you're thinking about, you know, let's say you're doing a 6-round
Yeah.
game, not counting free actions. Any given unit's going to have 12 actions. That's it.
Yep.
Again, not counting freebies and stuff. And so to take an aim action is one
Right.
of those, like, it's very expensive to get tokens
Yes.
without freebies, which is part of the reason I think why Gar is still so strong.
Yep.
But also, I think that's a big reason why not only Empire is strong, I think Remnant is a little slept on sometimes.
Yeah.
There's some really scary Remnant lists that can just always roll a minimum of 7 hits because you just think it's like when, for those that remember, those that were playing when this was around, when spiders were ruling the meta, right?
Yeah.
Part of why they were ruling the meta was because their ion cannon gives them precise 2. So you're re-rolling. If you have 2 aims, you're guaranteed basically to get a full boat, more or less. Not guaranteed, but you know.
Well, yeah, right.
Almost certainly.
You had a tactical droid, which was handing them aims. And
yeah.
So like,
well, that's the thing. It was easy to get 2 aims, like a minimum. You were always having 2 aims. And so even though you're rolling kind of crappy dice, because it's what, 3 black, 3 white, I think. I'm blanking on my top of my head.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that. But still, it's 3 black, 3 white at range 4. With impact, not for nothing, and ion if you ever need the ion. But then you're surging hit, and so normally with 2 aims you can get there. And so it was just, you're able to just guarantee hits. And so I think Remnant can do that really effectively. So all that to say, I agree with you. Tokens are expensive and it's really hard to get them in Legion. And so that's why any list that generates tokens, whether that's a Republic thing or an Imperial thing, and arguably that's maybe where, and this is again maybe a bigger discussion, but maybe that's where Rebels are lacking a little bit, is that they do really good once they have tokens, like they're nimble and everything like that is great, and vigilance and all that jazz. But I think sometimes in this day and age, they're struggling to get those tokens. It's also a case in point. It's also why pikes were so good and still are very good. They're still solid. They went up in price, so you can't spam them as much. But like, that's why they're so good, because they just get free tokens.
Yeah, I like
free tokens.
That's
are
exactly
so strong.
right. That's exactly right, because you're going back, you're manipulating the dice in a way in your favor, and usually it's a very expensive thing to do if you're not getting the free tokens.
It's huge. It's
actions
are expensive.
And I guess you know, I was thinking back to like how I started this and what was wrong with Legion. Maybe it's not what's wrong with Legion, it's
just a factor of Legion.
It's just a factor of Legion that I think is what makes it so great competitively, of course.
Sure.
But I think it's missing something. And whether that's an overall like keyword or some sort of something that allows a little bit more manipulating or ignoring, or something where you can kind of settle the dice variance a little bit more.
Well, and I mean, you look at, and this is my disclaimer, I don't know 40K or AOS that well. I have armies. I don't play them because they're my backup games, but like I enjoy it for what it's worth and what I have played. But it feels like, from going through Codex and the games I have played, it does feel like there are more opportunities to change dice around. And you know, a lot of Legion players will make fun of like, oh, you're throwing buckets of dice, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
True. But that means that's its own variance right there, right? You just have a huge handful of dice, and you go, rah, and you just, even if half of them miss, the other half go through, or you know, whatever. There's all kinds of different factors to it. But and so it does feel, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. There's so many ways to alter those dice. I mean, heck, even if I think you can still do this, but you can just spend a CP to reroll a die, right? Like just boom. It's a free aim essentially for our purposes. So if you had a thing that just let you have not a free aim, but you know, an aim every turn for whatever, like, no, I think it's fair.
It's just something I was thinking about, because like, and back to like the Legion thing. So the tournament, with MCP, I can have a bad game of MCP, right? You can
Mhm.
have a bad game.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
find with MCP that even the people I've talked to who play it more seriously than I do, you bounce back so much faster because one, you know that the spike, it just spiked on you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just happened. Two, you know that the game is quick enough that you're not suffering for another like 2 hours after this happened.
Yes. Yes.
It's like maybe 10 more minutes and then you're done,
Yeah.
and then you can move on to your next game, and that's only going to be like 70 minutes. So it's like,
Right.
it's very yeah. But I understand too, everything I'm complaining and like complaining is a strong word. Everything I'm pointing out right now are the
Yeah.
things that guys like Kyle love about the game, right? It's
Well,
like,
and
so
so I was going to say on the flip side of everything we're talking about, because also I kind of like you said, I don't think it's a complaint. I think it's just a factor of Legion. I don't think
yeah,
it's a bad thing. I think it's just what separates it and what makes it kind of different. But also, all of those things do compound to where it feels like Legion can be so close. And we know what is that?
happy life day.
Oh,
Family, joy, harmony.
but like where Legion games can come down to the
Yeah,
wire, and often like at the higher levels, they do come down to the
yeah,
wire because those choices are so limited, they're so strong and so
yeah,
impactful. So every choice matters. Every single thing a unit does, even if it does nothing, it matters.
yeah,
And so I think the flip side of that, I think the better side and what makes it more appealing is that yes, you can get blown away. You can lose your ATST, and it's likely you would lose, but it's not guaranteed. But you never know. And I always say,
yeah,
always play out your games. I will say
yeah,
there, I say always play out your games. I do make exceptions. If it's like the end of the day, if it's like round 3 and I'm like 0-2, well, it doesn't matter. Like I'm probably gonna call it. But if there's a chance of winning or something like that, like always play it out because you
yeah.
never know what's gonna happen. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah,
no, I agree with that. It's just, and I don't know if that was a great analogy. I was just saying
no,
that,
but I hear what
like,
you're saying.
because Hulk is is like a high point figure,
Yeah,
and he does.
yeah, yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the like a roundabout way to say that I like 3 rounds of Legion, and I think too maybe part of that is like just committing to. That's the other thing, like this PAX thing, right? This is what would really struggle for me is normally I'd be like, hey, I'm just gonna if I was gonna go to PAX, right?
Yeah.
I would just go for Saturday, Sunday. Like I would maybe drive down Saturday morning, maybe leave early. It's like a 5 hour trip for me or something. I
Yeah.
think 6 for you where
Uh,
you are, six
it'd
and a half
be, I
maybe.
think like 4.5 for you because it was like 6 for me. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. So like four and a
something like
half
that.
for me,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's reasonable driving. So like, if I were to go to PAX just to go to PAX, I could actually go in a day and come back home and be fine, right? And like,
Yeah.
but when because we play Legion and Legion's tied into it, I'm now hard committed for 2 basically full days.
Yeah.
Saturday, I'm not doing anything but playing Legion because
Right.
it's 4 rounds. And Sunday, I'm going to play Legion for most of the day. And by the time I'm done, most of the vendors are going to be packing up and leaving anyways. So I paid hundreds of dollars to go to an event, to go to a specialty boutique event, let's call it bespoke event that I only played Legion, which is the same game I play everywhere else. Like, which I could have just done in my
I
hometown.
yeah. I see what you're saying. I disagree, but I see what you're saying.
I
Yes.
listen, I'm just
Yes.
listen, guys. I'm feeling real down right now on this stuff, so I'm just giving you my raw off the nerve ending feelings right now about
Listen,
this.
guys, I'm feeling real up on this stuff.
Yeah.
So even though I don't get a chance to play right now because of
That's
vacation
why we
stuff,
brought
but
Tim in on the
that's
fifth trooper to be the upper while I
yeah.
be the downer.
Oh
Um,
no,
I'm gonna bring you down and he's gonna scoop you right up. Don't worry, little
that's
bird.
right. I'll bring you into my warm bearded bosom.
But
That's fine.
so long way around. I know I'm sounding negative, but this is, and I'm sure a lot of you at home are thinking the same way, where you're going, okay, especially if you're married and you have kids, or just married, you don't even have to kid, but if you just have family,
Yeah.
right, that has that you have to have some sort of time commitment to, it's when you're looking at stuff like this and your partner is not into it and isn't looking to go with you, and this is, for a better term, lack of a better term, this is your guys weekend, or like this is
Yeah.
your poker night, or whatever, whatever term, right, that you start to look at things and you go, is this actually going to be fun? Like, is this actually worth being miserable for 4 rounds, having to like call home to hear about how like a bat got into the house and like the toaster set the kitchen on fire, and then and I lost, and now I've got to go, or I won, and now I got to pretend like I'm not as happy because there's just misery at home.
Or hear me out. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Let it be on the other shoulder and say, or you get to see some of your friends that you only get to see at big Legion events. You get to play amazing games of Legion on amazing tables,
Yeah.
made by one of the best map makers in the game.
Yeah.
And you get to go, if you do happen to lose out early or something like that, or your game ends early, you're able to walk around the hall. Maybe you take an extra day, walk around the hall. You don't make the cut, that's okay. You go walk around that hall. It's
Yeah.
all right.
Here's
That's the
my
trick,
my
man.
counter to that, right?
Yeah.
Is all of those, by the way, this is just a piece of paper, everyone. I'm not actually like
I was like, oh, wow, he's really going down.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that.
this is not cigarette or weed. But like, so
It's New York, man.
yeah,
It's
I
fun.
mean, yeah, all is good. If anything, it would have been a cigar. But like,
Fair.
what all the factors that you just put in, right? That would
Yeah.
convince me to go,
Yeah.
okay, are true about at least 5 or 6 events in a year,
True. That's
right?
true. That's
It's true for at least 6 events.
Yes.
God bless Nick Bodnar. He brings tables to a ton of events. I love him. That's why we brought him on board, because he's a great community member and part of this community, and amazing table maker, like all that, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact that there's going to be at least 5 or 6 events this year that you could say that all about, right? So
Yes.
my thing is, I used to go to all of them, and a lot of it was because we had booths or we were doing business stuff. But now, like, that's not as big of a piece for me anymore, and I'm going for like a personal reason. I'm going, okay, do I want to burn all this goodwill that I
Yeah.
built up with my wife by fixing this bathroom? And by the way, if you want to see,
I knew it was coming back.
you want
I
to
knew we
see
were coming back
before
to
and
it.
after pictures, you can join our Patreon. A bunch of people asked me on Patreon, and I shared them with them. But
Really, the hard hitting stuff in the Patreon.
that's the Patreon before and
Bathroom
after.
pictures.
Yeah, yeah. But listen, that got me some goodwill points that I
Sure.
will be able to spend at some point. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to like ask myself, as many of us do many of you do at home, is like, is this the one? Is this what's the
fair.
compelling reason to get me there? And I hear what you're saying, but it's like, sure, that all could happen in March at Adepticon for me as well. Like, so
Yeah. Well, and you're absolutely right. But to me, I say go to all of them. Like go to all of them.
sure.
Go,
So
It's
are you
fine.
going to PAX? Are you going? Why? Oh, you
No,
busy? You got something going on? You got
because I already
commitment
booked it
with your significant other?
because I couldn't change my tickets.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Listen, we've already talked. It would have been better for me to change it the week after anyway. But
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
LVO, I mean, I'm going to LVO.
Okay.
Hey,
Sure.
There you
You going to Evans thing in February?
go. Oh yeah.
Okay,
I got my
so
tickets for that too.
details coming soon, but yeah, Evan, the Raccoon Bull Riss, is running an event in February again, which he did last year, which is going to be an amazing event. So
The boys, Golden Sprue, right?
Mhm.
Is it? Yeah. It's up on there is actually if you're on the Legion Discord, like the main Legion Discord,
Oh,
there's
did he put something up? I didn't
yeah,
know if
there's
I
a
was
channel
allowed to
for it.
talk about
Yeah.
it. So
No, you're
it's
good. That's why I was saying
I
there's a whole
I'm
channel for it. So.
ancillarily involved, so like, but I don't know
Right,
at what
right.
stage we're in, so I just try to like vaguely talk about it.
Tickets are up and hotel is up as well.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah,
cool.
and we're gonna have all kinds of I say I'm not helping organize it. I'm just going.
We are.
He's gonna have all kinds of like side events and like fun. It's a blast. Like this is one of those events
This
that
is a party event.
it's truly there's going to be Legion. It's going to be
Yep.
competitive Legion because there's also going to have some of the best players in the world there.
But they literally had like beer and stuff like right outside
we
the
had
doors.
such a blast last year, and I actually missed the
Yeah.
first day because I was doing something with family. See, but I was able to make it that night, and
Yep.
it was still such a blast. We closed down like 3 different bars because we were just too many of us, and this poor little
Oh, yeah.
it's in Schenectady, New York, so Schenectady, New York, you're just not ready for like I don't know 60 nerds just wandering around trying to go to
And
bars.
we picked all the wrong bars to try to go to. Like the first one had like a $20 cover, and we're like, for what? They're like, oh, this you don't know this musician, and we're like, no. And so then we were like, oh, hey, there's a beer garden, and we go there, and they are not prepared at all for the amount
we
of
shut
people.
down their kitchen. Do you remember that? They had to shut down. They initially had a full kitchen, and then they saw us all come in. They're like, okay, we're only doing hot dogs, and then they even shut that down. They're like, no, just kidding. We ran out of hot dogs.
Yeah, I think it was right after COVID when everything was opening back up.
It was,
and they had like one cook. Like that's all they had, and there was legitimately 40 of us that walked in that door. Yeah, it was wild.
But that's part of the fun.
But that's a great event, and but sorry, it's just like I'm trying to. I'm like I feel like a lot of people have this same stress, and I'm just trying to. You know what? I'm a man of the people, Tim, and I'm just trying to voice all their stress and opinions on this podcast.
And I am sure you are correct. I believe that. But that said, go to all the events you can. If you can, you know, hey.
Like I'm starting to think, and I don't know. Okay. I used to be of your opinion, right? And maybe I'm just having a bad week, and in a couple of weeks this will all change. But like, I'm starting to wonder if it's not better to go to small to mid-range events and pick a bigger one, like just go to Adepticon, and then during the year go to like the Keystone Classic is a great example of like a mid-tier just Legion event. It was just Legion.
Golden Sprue.
Right. Golden Sprue, right.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's fair.
You know what I mean? Because it's cheaper. It's more reasonable to get there. You're not paying, because at these bigger events, like if a lot of our audience, I think you guys tell me, you comment on this or message us on Facebook, whatever. But like a lot of you out there do not play as many games as Tim and I or Evan does. You're mostly Legion players who have maybe gotten into Shatterpoint or because you came for Star Wars. So you're not a gamer, you're a Star Wars aficionado who now plays Legion because you love Star Wars and it's a way to get, play war in that reality. And so I think your money is wasted at bigger events because you're paying for everything else that's going on at PAX. You're paying for the vendor hall. You're paying for the popular city that's central for everybody to go to. You're paying for all this stuff that you're not benefiting from. And you may be better off going to like a mid-tier,
I agree with you to a point. So I wouldn't say wasted, but I do think I agree. If you look at your finances and your home life and everything like that, and you say, I can really only, like, if I go to multiple things like this, it's going to really put stressors on me, then don't do it. I'm only saying go to all of them if you can. And what I'm joking aside.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's the middle ground between getting your Legion in And
I
playing a tier of players that will get you ready for a Worlds, right?
true,
But
true.
not costing you not just money, but
I so here's what I really do think about this, because I think you make a good point.
yeah,
I think you need to look at where can I go efficiently. Again, if you can't go to all of them, I go to as
right.
many as you can if you can. But if you can't do that, where can I go efficiently? Maybe one big event is a little bit harsh, but let's say two big events a year.
Yep.
Let's just argue that. Where can I go? So I'm looking right now. Like I always have multiple screens, so I always have Discord up on the
Me
side.
too.
And I just happen to look over and I just see like there's on the main Legion Discord, there's a whole tournament and con section, right?
Yep.
And there's actually they have it separated now, evidently by region and like North America, South America, Europe, all that stuff. Go on those kind of lists, and it doesn't have to be if you're not on TLD, that's fine. Whatever, you can find them on Facebook, wherever. Find those big events, and then literally, and I do this too, even as someone who tries to go to all of them, I still do this. Price out what is it going to look like for me to fly to Dallas? Like LSO is a fantastic event. I love LSO. I think that's one of the big ones you should try and go to if it's one of the ones you're looking to target. But think about like, is it going to be cheaper for me to fly to Vegas for LVO, or is it going to be cheaper for me to fly to Texas for LSO? Or what about hotels?
Yeah.
So do all those calculations and then figure out what's going to be my most reasonable ones, and then do the one that hurts the least.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think that's a normal, it's a healthy thing to do. That's good budgeting skills. That's good family skills. Like
I honestly think
that's okay.
my view on this is I think there's several different viewpoints, but I think there's a couple here. There's one, let's say three, right? There's Tim's viewpoint, which is I want to go to as many as I can, and not though Tim plays competitively, it's not from a competitive mindset. It's more of a like, I want to go, I want to play, I want to see friends. Okay. There's the competitive mindset. And then there's the I'm a casual and I just like playing. So I think if you're from a competitive mindset and you can't pay the costs, money, points with your family, whatever it is, you go Adepticon's your show.
Fair.
If you're competitive, and then you try to find like mid-tier, like Keystone Classic, which was in Scranton, is a great example where it was like a 30 or 40 man tournament that was within driving, for me, was 2-hour drive, right? So like that's a reasonable like thing to do. And don't waste your money. You're not going to get anything out of a PAX, or especially the way the invites are working right now, right? If most of these places have an invite to Worlds, so if that's your goal, to get an invite to Worlds, like I know when I was on Scoundrels, we would have conversations about if you've taking it very serious, you need to go to these big events, because that's when that's where the big players go to play, and you're going to know what your level of it. But if you're running on a budget, in every sense of that word, on every level, right? Adepticon's your event, and then you try to get your invite from a store invite or from a smaller mid-tier. But don't waste your time on these larger events okay, Tim, honestly,
I know what you're saying, but the way you're saying it is so like but I know what you're saying.
because I think there's some, like Everwinter as an example is like a mini Adepticon, because it's just about, you're just going for the tournament, right? There's no other show going on, there's no show floor, there's nothing. I think they have a little, but like it's not like it's just for the tournament. You get your invite, you get it out, you move on, right? These things like PAX and Gen Con, don't get me wrong, they're fun to go to, but you're paying the overhead of everything else, the city, the event, that like LVO, Atlantic City, ACO, like it's all this LSO, it's all the same. You're paying the premium for the privilege to go to a big city to play in a special place. All you're doing is playing Legion. You don't even get to see the special place because you gotta friggin' be on the floor at 8:30 and it's 4 rounds. You don't get out till 11. You're exhausted. You won. So now you gotta go to day 2. So you can't actually, if you're taking it seriously, you can't stay up all night. Dude,
That's why. Oh well, first off, I disagree about that completely.
well, you're not taking
But
it
anyway,
seriously, so you can't
I mean,
comment
I
on this.
semi-seriously, but,
Any
you know,
serious player who makes it into day 2 goes to bed at a reasonable hour, Tim.
not true, but okay. That's
We're not using Luke Cook as an example. He
I
is
I was
a
just gonna
machine.
say-
He is a machine and does not count.
I've eaten a dim sum with a man at midnight, and
Yeah.
you know he's woken up in one world in the next day.
Oh, yeah, that was that LVO, right? Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
crazy. Yeah,
But-
no. Oh, I know.
No, I hear what you're saying. I just, again, for me, I'm a big experience guy, and this is
Yeah.
again, this is more about more than Legion, which is a good point. It really is at this point for me. It's about more than just Legion. I love the
Yes.
experience. I'm there for that, and so
Yes.
I'm willing and to be fair, able to pay for those experiences.
Well, okay.
but and that's okay if you can't.
Yeah.
That's not like
What I'm
that's not
qualifying
all a
it
knock
saying,
or a brag. Like,
yeah. I'm saying though, you are the person, you are a person, and I was too.
I'm a ginger, so this.
Yeah, you don't have a soul, but at least you're human.
No.
That you would go Thursday to PAX.
Yeah.
You would drive down Thursday, say Thursday night, go Friday to just go experience PAX, then go to the tournament on Saturday. Okay, right?
Yes.
What I guess the person I'm talking to is if you're just into Star Wars Legion
Yes.
and you're only in this for Legion, whether it's competitively or casually, you don't play any other games, you don't have time or money to play other games.
Yeah.
You're just playing
Yeah.
Legion. Don't waste your time or money or efforts on those bigger shows
I think
because
that's fair.
that is
That's
not
fair.
for you.
That's fair.
Yeah, I know it's fair. And just like that, we filled an hour, Tim. Boom. We didn't know
That's-
what we were going to talk about today.
I was just gonna let you
folks.
keep going, man. Like, that's
Oh,
fine.
I'm burning.
Meanwhile, I'll see you at all the big events, everybody.
You know what the craziest part was?
No.
I came into this pretty calm. Like I wasn't really agitated about anything. And then whatever, this just set me off. I don't know why. Whew.
I mean, it's again, everybody's in a different spot, and that's okay. You know, wherever you're at, it's okay. Whatever you can do, and
I think it. Yeah.
if you
yeah.
can only do a couple, that's fine. You can only do one, then do one. I agree. If you can only do one, probably should do Adepticon.
Yeah. I think I'm just agitated.
Actually, that's half true. Hold on. If you can only do one, if you're really competitive about it, do Adepticon. Otherwise, I would say LVO, because LVO is such a blast, and it is such a good community event.
Yeah.
Where you go and you get to learn all about the community. You get to go out and you all have fun, and you go to
Yeah,
Opera
that's fair.
House.
That's
and
all fair.
that stuff. So, and it's Vegas, so you can always enjoy Vegas. Anyway, that's my
It's,
pitch.
yeah. I think where this is coming from, if I had to guess, if I had to do a little soul searching, which I have one, unlike you,
It's Vegas. Yeah,
debatable, I guess, depending on who you talk to,
yeah, that's fair.
is I think with the fact that you can get an invite to Worlds at a store
Mm.
and that all these events are becoming, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. It's not the actually event that is different that piques your interest. It's the people, the Star Wars Legion event. It's the people who are there and what's going on around it, that whether it's the city or the convention or whatever. That's what's really okay.
Yes. That's fair.
All if you're going for Legion,
Yes.
they're legitimately all the same. Ish.
More or less. Yeah,
Ish.
ish. Yeah.
They average out to one. So it's like, to me, I've been thinking a lot about this, that if most of those people, they came for I've heard this from people like, oh, I just came for the Legion tournament. And I'm just like, dude, you spent so much money that you could have just gone to something else way cheaper.
Right. Yeah.
To play Legion. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Oh yeah. That's fair.
Anyways, I've been thinking a lot about this. Maybe it was the fact that PAX is 4 rounds and 2 rounds. Like that set me off. I'm like, that's your whole weekend. You're not seeing anything. Good luck.
You're seeing victory.
What if you can't get the time off? You drive out. You have to drive out Friday night, right after work, or fly in Friday night. So you got the hotel for Friday night. You have to be on the floor like 8:30, right?
Yep.
To register. It's going till 11 o'clock, guaranteed. Maybe midnight, depending on how the rounds go. Yeah. You go, you eat, you try to find food. Like that's impossible. Like,
Scrounging around for scraps.
Right. You're not in bed. You
Eating
won.
protein
You
bars.
won. You won all 4 rounds. So you're in day 2, right? So
Yeah.
you're not getting to bed until like 1 a.m. if you're lucky. That's if everything goes right. You then have to wake up at 6, most likely, because you got to be back at the floor at 8:30. So, you could probably push it to 7. And then you're there until 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. And all the vendors are shutting down Sunday at like 4. So you maybe have half an hour to go check out vendors. But dude, you just wasted all that time and money. Like just go to a local.
But see, everything you just said, it's not a waste. It's an experience.
Oh, dude, that's all miserable to me. That is not an experience I need in my life anymore.
I love it.
Dude,
love the stress.
I'm too old and like I got too many other stresses. I don't need like the one thing I do for fun. I want that to stress me out too. Like, are you kidding me? No, thank you.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Anyways, good news, everybody. My bathroom's done. And
so everybody, yeah.
So there's that. If you were all
also
wondering,
good news.
Yeah.
If you want more good Legion news, Geonosians got Geonosians. I always add extra syllables. I was talking about that before. Geonosians got moved up to January 19th, according to Asmodee's website. Yep. So that's good.
Nice. That'll be great.
Technically, you can. I don't think there's a 2-week rule anymore, so you can just.
Yep.
You can buy them the morning of. You would already have to submit your list, so you can't play them for LVO. Sorry, but anything after LVO, there you go.
Yep.
There you go. So it'll be. I'm looking forward to it. I think they're really cool. So I'm trying to get some reps with other lists before I switch to trying out some Geonosian lists because I also just need to build and paint things, but add it to the list of things to do.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there.
Okay, buddy.
I could just feel myself. I'll get back. It'll literally just be a 2-hour podcast of me just repeating and how angry I am about this for today.
Every time a dice rolls, an angel gets its wings, Jay.
Yeah.
Every time a red die saves, an angel gets its wings.
Every time a white die saves, a ginger gets his soul.
Oh man. That's why all my ATSCs are always dying on me.
Yeah.
It's my ATRTs as well.
Ah, dude.
I do have a list. I want to try. I want to try some. I want to try Saber, some ATRTs, and some other good times. It's a fun time. Armor all.
You know what? It'll be fun. Yeah. Good luck with
Saber, ISP, ATRTs. It's fun. Good times.
Well, all right. Well, everyone, we will talk to you next week. Oh, will we talk to you next week? Yeah, we might. We'll see. One way or another, I'll talk to you next week. Tim won't be here.
I will. I know that. I know I will.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll report to you live from Galaxy's Edge, screaming into a phone.
Tim will be back at some point.
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of the Fifth Trooper podcast.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.